What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. Now, look, y'all, I'm back. I'm sorry I've been neglecting y'all from the NBA talk during the bubble. I haven't been talking about the games, but let me just say this. The NBA bubble has produced some of the most exciting basketball I've watched in a very, very long time, man. To see these players ball out, they guys playing with chips on their shoulders, trying to prove themselves to not only the fans, to not only themselves, but also to these talking heads on TV. Talking heads like Skip Bayless, right? But nonetheless, man, we've been able to see some games and watch players that we normally don't get to watch that much because they don't get a whole lot of TV time. And sometimes, because they play on the West Coast, their games are later on in the day, and a lot of us are asleep when they're playing. One of those teams I'm talking about is the Phoenix Suns, right? During this bubble, the Phoenix Suns went 8-0, and they played some amazing basketball. I'm just glad that people were able to see the talent that Devin Booker is. To this day, I don't know why the hell Coach John Calipari was bringing him off of the bench when he was at Kentucky. Like, for the Harrison twins, brother? Come on, man. Nah, bro. Nah. And I know he probably promised the Harrison twins a starting job when he was the coach, but to see D-Book's talent, like, you got to start that, brother, man. DeAndre Ayton on the team, man. They got a great nucleus of guys that they can move forward with, and I'm excited about that team. But the Portland Trailblazers they knocked Phoenix out of playoff contention due to the play of Damian Lillard. Fam, I knew Dame was like that for real, but this run that he's been on throughout this bubble has been miraculous. It's been amazing to watch, and it reminds me of Kemba Walker's run that he made in the NCAA tournament when he was with UConn. Well, first in the Big East tournament, where Kemba rolled his wave from the Big East tournament and all the way to the national title game, and they won that game, right? Dame has been on a historical run. He scored 185 points in the last 4 games, which was amazing. He ended up winning. He ended up being named the Bubble MVP unanimously, and no surprise, because the performance that he was putting on, like every game, I'm like, I want to see what Dame is going to do next. And to me, he proved he is who I think he is. Honestly, y'all may disagree. I feel like Damian Lillard is the second best point guard in the league, only behind Steph Curry. Now, I know a lot of other guys are going to say, well, what about Russell Westbrook? What about Kyrie Irving? And yeah, those guys are phenomenal. They're dynamic. They're exciting to watch. I love both of those guys, but I would rather take Dame over both of those individuals. Russell Westbrook, although is exciting, he's going to be an icon. He is an icon right now for averaging a triple-double in like back-to-back seasons. Like, doing that and winning MVP, the stuff he's done is phenomenal, but his basketball IQ isn't as high as Dame's, right? Russ often turns the ball over a whole lot. He will shoot you out of a game at times. Russ, and I don't know, like, Damian seems to play a little bit more controlled than Russ, right? Kyrie Irving. Kyrie is phenomenal, without a doubt, but Dame seems to get along with his teammates a lot better. You know what I mean? And it leads to better team chemistry, in my opinion. I don't think that Kyrie Irving would have been able to pull off a run like this. Not as the guy on the team. Now, if he was with Kevin Durant and Kevin Durant was the guy, then he would be able to pull it off. But Kyrie as the number one focal point on the team, I'm not sure he would have been able to pull this off. Dame Lillard is that dude without question. Now, I know a lot of other people are going to bring up the fact that he's had shortcomings. Skip Bayless likes to point out the fact that, yeah, Dame did come up short when they got swept by the New Orleans Pelicans that year. Like, that was like Drew Holiday was on one and was locking him up, right? Dame also fell short against the Golden State Warriors without Kevin Durant, and Dame didn't play particularly well in that series, right? It was a little underwhelming. But let me say this. A lot of our favorite players have had shortcomings. LeBron James is my favorite player. He has many moments where he didn't perform in the way that I would have liked him to perform. Nonetheless, Dame is still a dog and still an animal. I'm never going to act like he ain't all that, and especially when Skip tried to put D-Book in over him. Yeah, you can argue that Dame has had better teams than Devin Booker, but to say Devin Booker is phenomenal and all of that, and Dame is really not all of that, come on, man, really? Really? Yeah, D-Book is an awesome player, phenomenal scorer, but he acting like he was acting like D-Book is leaps and bounds ahead of Dame. Yeah, D-Book scored 70, and they still lost that game, brother. They still lost. So, I mean, yeah, like, so if you're trying to question Dame's winning ability and comparing it to Devin Booker. What has Devin Booker won? So how can you say that? I love D Book. I'm just saying though. But nonetheless, man, Portland Trailblazers are advancing to the NBA playoffs after defeating the Memphis Grizzlies by a score of 126 to 122. Dame finished the game with 31 points and 10 assists. CJ McCollum finished the game with 29 points, but my main man had 14 points in the fourth quarter. And I love CJ McCollum, man. I know a lot of people, he don't get talked about a whole lot. Because he's not it's a lot of other players that, are more flashy and have had, I guess, bigger moments. Because look, CJ's playing, he's second fiddle to Dame Lillard, right? But CJ is phenomenal. CJ really got Portland up out of there today, without question. And I've really liked CJ ever since I saw him ball out with Lehigh against Duke. Shout out, because I'm glad he beat them Duke Blue Devils, because I am not a Duke Blue Devil team, although I do root for Duke when Chicago guys go there. But yeah, CJ is one of my favorite players to watch, and that's a guy I would love to have on my fantasy basketball team any day of the week, because I don't know, man, dude can really come up big for you and hit clutch shots and get hot, fire hot. I gotta shout out Yusuf Nurkic as well. Yusuf Nurkic had 22 points and 21 rebounds. 21 boards, 22 and 21. And I really got to shout out the way he balled out, especially after finding out that his grandmother in Bosnia passed away from complications with COVID-19. Rest in peace to Yusuf Nurkic's grandmother. Ja Morant. Look, today, I used to always hear people say, he remind me of D Rose. He remind me of Derrick Rose, right? And me being from Chicago, we real protective over D Rose and his legacy and comparisons. We really careful about comparing guys to him. But today, brother, I really did see that comparison. I really did see it with that young brother. That young brother is a hooper. Fam had 35 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 rebounds. Come on, bro. The floater, the mid-range game, the floater, I really like Ja Morant. I really like that brother. That boy is something special, and he the guy that's gonna be emerging coming up next. He got next for real. Let me just say this too. Ja Morant, Dame, and CJ was balling out their mind, and they all went to mid-major schools, right? Guys playing with chips on their shoulders, got to the league with chips on their shoulders, and are still playing with that edge. And that's really what's their driving force to being great. You know what I mean? And I'm just really glad that people are able to see what I see in Dame. And Dame he can attack the rim. Can slash to the basket. He can hit deep shots. We see Logo Lillard. We see that's really his name, because that man was hitting shots from the logo for real in Orlando. And I'm glad that we can really see, everybody is seeing who he is, man. Now, with that being said, he's gonna have to ball out in the playoffs, because in the first round they're going against my dog, my player partner LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers, right? Dame was balling like he was in a contract year during the whole bubble. But he's going to have to do the same thing in the playoffs, right? I'm going to say this, to be fair, even though I don't really care about being fair, but I'm going to just say it. I'm going to throw this out, right? Dame, he didn't have any field goals in the fourth quarter. Didn't shoot particularly well in this game. And he's had his struggles in the playoffs. But I'm assuming he's going to ride this wave and momentum into postseason play. Because I'm going to be honest with y'all. As much as I ride with the Lakers and my boy LeBron James, the Lakers can't do nothing, absolutely nothing, with the Portland Trailblazers guard play. They ain't got no guard that can stick Dame or CJ. And this is where they're really going to miss Avery Bradley. A lot of people are like, you know what? Avery was smaller, only 6'2", or 6'2.5", something like that. J.R. Smith was longer, bigger, and J.R. proved to be a very solid defender over the years. But JR ain't digging deep. You know what I'm saying? He ain't sitting down like that. Like for real, guarding dudes head up for real, like Avery Bradley was. And that'll throw off a guy like Dame Lillard. You know what I mean? Drew Holiday put the clamps on him, right? So he will. He's a guy that can't be needed. They can't do nothing with that guard play. None of them can guard. Nobody on the Lakers can guard Dame or CJ. Because Dion ain't doing it. JR ain't doing it. You know what I mean? It's just not happening. Quinn Cook ain't doing it either. But I'm going to say this. The Portland Trailblazers have absolutely nobody. And The Rock means nobody. They can guard LeBron James or Anthony Davis. Yusuf Nurkic can make it difficult. Hassan Whiteside can make it difficult for sure. But AD at the end of the day he's just leaps and bounds. He's a different type of player. He's different. And I'm thinking he's going to show y'all this in this playoffs, in this series. Even though the Lakers been struggling. And LeBron James is going to be guarded by his boy, his player partner, Carmelo Anthony. And at this point, I don't see Melo. Melo was never that much of a defender, but he ain't guarding LeBron Raymond James Sr. And that's just my opinion. I'm excited to see this series. I think Portland can win at best 2 games, but I'm rolling with the Lakers in 5, right? Machiavelli Mills TV, probably 6. Machiavelli Mills TV,